All right, welcome back to another episode of The Goat's Gravy, the ultimate podcast for sales and sales leadership. And Scotty, we've been talking a lot about AI. We have a really cool guest today, so I'm going to turn it over to you to kick this thing off.
Aidan Lee, what is happening, my man?
How we doing, Aidan?
How we doing, guys? Nice to meet you all.
Doing great. I appreciate you joining us this morning.
Oh, likewise. This is a great opportunity, and love AI, so can't wait to talk more about it.
Yes. If you don't like AI, you're not cool. Is that what we're talking about?
So that's the name of the game.
That's right. So I heard your name, right? You and I work together, and we're an AI company, and the question was with some of the leaders, how are we using it internally? And we sell it, but are we using it? Right? It was the real question. And I kept hearing your name. I'm like, you mean Caden? That's my son's name. And they're like, no, Aidan. I said, all right, Aidan, I gotta call this guy. And then I call another guy. Hey, who else knows a lot about AI and how we could leverage it internally for kind of sales productivity? And once again, you got to talk to Aidan Lee. I said, this guy's a legend and I've never even heard of him. So anyway, I called you up, right? And you were at ServiceNow as a BDR, kind of in the sales, right? Started with sales, and then you morphed into some different roles. So, kind of kicking it off, I curiosity kind of comes to mind, and would love to kind of hear how you got started, maybe how you morphed into sales, and then moved into something more AI centric. So, love to, for our listeners out there, this is a really, really cool story, and we'd love to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. I guess it really started back when I was in college. I went to Providence College, graduated in 2024, and just kind of built this. I was a marketing major. Again, usually marketing majors tend to lean into sales, more outgoing folks. So I just tried to lean in to try and do more role plays, understand what the business is like, and honestly, just the industry in general. And obviously, ChatGPT was a great use within my college time, and all my other buddies using it as well. But I really took it to my advantage to learn more and see what it could really do. But then leaning into that, I had an internship with ServiceNow, again, where we still work now, you and I, Scott. And that really helped me grow. But during that time, I got denied, and I kept growing and learning and trying to network through this process. That is the hardest thing ever, to get an internship, a job right out of school. But then finally got it done and hopped into the BDR role, which really opened my eyes, right? We had our own internal AI. There's all this other, external use out there. I'm just trying to leverage what's best possible. And so this phrase, this term, curiosity, stemmed from, again, probably back at school, trying to do my best, understand all these different, courses. We got philosophy, theology, all these different ones that I'm not, tailored to taking other than the math classes, right? But it's more so learning how to be curious with this AI industry realm we're living in right now, and trying to understand that it's not really structured. It's more intentional. Going to YouTube, doing my own little market research as a BDR within the first few months, understanding, what are the pain points within our just sales org, what takes the most time out of people's day, right? And then trying to figure out how we can then leverage a ChatGPT, a Claude, a Gemini to our best use. And so I know that we probably met just you seeing my demo being floated around to a bunch of emails I'd just be sending out. But that's really how I started. To give you the first, I guess, overview of where I am now.
Yeah. And I think some people think, they're a little intimidated by AI, especially some of the folks that you work with, Aidan, that might be a little bit older than you, which is probably everybody. And I think they're, and I can use myself as an example, I'm not technical. I'm not an engineer. I can't really use AI. So, walk us through, if you could, this kind of concept of prompt engineering. What does that mean to you? And were you intimidated when you started off? And what did you learn through the process?
Yeah, I actually didn't even know I was technically prompt engineering at the time. I thought I was just prompting, right? And the term in simple ways is just coding with words. And that's the new realm we're in right now, this like AI agentic use cases. But it was more so one of my mentors, a solution consultant manager of mine. I reached out to him. I heard he was a good dude, and he really bought into what I showed him within, at the time, ChatGPT and some certain models that I made. And he was like, you know what you're doing right now? You're prompt engineering. And so just the term in general was just a laughing moment for me. I didn't even know what that meant. So then I just went on YouTube and just searched prompt engineering, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, just trying to figure out each different tool and how it's used within that specific one. And just kind of rabbit hole and spiraled. And then I just really got into what it really meant to not just prompt, but do it correctly within that certain model. They're all different, but how to make it make sense, right? It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, Billy, like the foundation of sales is asking good questions.
Yeah.
Right. If you can ask good questions and interact with people, you're typically extremely successful. And that kind of lends to that curiosity piece, Aidan, that you referenced. So if you can ask good questions, you're really creating a relationship, right, with a bot, right? And you're training and you're going back and forth. Is that a foundation of being really slick and leveraging AI? Is the ability to be curious about asking questions? Is that a component of prompt engineering?
Yeah, I think it's more like pushing the limits,
Mm-hmm.
seeing like, you don't know what you don't know. And within the first job, within the 10th job you get, within wherever you are within the sales cycle, or just how old you are in general. It's tough because AI is every day is evolving, and that's the fun part of it. But it's how can I keep up? It's almost impossible these days. It really is.
So Aiden, just to simplify this for a minute. So it's interesting. So everyone's trying to embrace this. We're two old dogs. I've been taking some online classes, just really trying to embrace it because you can't stand still. This thing's not going away. So you really have to figure out how to work with it, how to leverage it, and especially in our industry. So one thing I read that I thought was pretty interesting is that most people right now are using it like at Google, and they just ask it questions. And you're talking about this prompting, but that's the part where I read like you're supposed to treat it almost like an associate, and you're having a conversation and be very specific about the things you want to know, setting up the details with the prompt so you can get very accurate information back. Can you talk a little bit about how that helped you? You talked about using that or utilizing AI to help you with your internship and maybe to secure that first job. How exactly did you use it? Give us an example of a use case.
Yeah, I mean, the simple one is just summarizing notes, but that's what everyone does, right? That's the basic of basics. But then it's following up on what people actually say, using their quotes against them, even for external use, right? Seeing if the CEO said something about their company during my, networking period when I'm meeting with an account executive, a manager, a director that I somehow get in touch with, I use their kind of quotes against them to understand, hey, what does this really mean? And that brings us right back to the curiosity. I don't know everything, and I'm not saying I'm a genius about AI regardless, too. It's just putting yourself in a unfamiliar situation and then trying to make that unfamiliar situation comfortable and then repeating that process. So back in, I was 17, 18. No, I was like 19, 20 years old.
2 years ago.
A couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 23 right now. But junior, sophomore year of college, I really started to that networking piece, just scratching and clawing for anyone who would even give me time. And I first started off with just anyone who was in software, reaching out to them who also graduated from Providence College. We have a very great, network piece at Providence College, which I really love. It's a private Catholic school, so we treat each other like, we're all family. And so reaching out to those people, I still have in my, repertoire of lists of who do I go to when I need that specific information. Back when I was, again, 4 or 5 years ago, but these people really helped me build this mindset to test the limits, put my feet not just like in the water, but really just jump in. And you're going to fail, not just learning about AI, but business, sales in general, just cold calling. It's a whole nother language in itself. And so really just not caring what other people thought and just diving right in, honestly.
Yeah. You've got, when we were kind of prepping for this, you said there was a quote that you included. You said curiosity compounds faster than experience if you treat learning like a daily reps game. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, obviously love sports, still do. Obviously, you see the flag behind me; it's all Boston. But I treat sales in general as my next sport, right? How was I going to wake up every morning to really get after something, really achieve something, really have a goal for something? And it was hard at the time, right? Graduating from school, not really knowing where you want to end up. If the first job, even if you like it or don't like it, you still got to push through and understand that this is a learning period, and you're not going to know everything. And thankfully, I had a bunch of great mentors who pushed me and saw something in me to not just learn more about AI, but also learn more about sales, learn more about the business, learn more about even just renewals or even what happens after implementation. Is the whole 9 yards of the sale and the business itself, but then how can we attach this new thing, artificial intelligence, on top of it? It's just impossible to really mix and mingle all together. But this is the industry and this is the day and age we're living in. So it's really awesome to, like you said, curiosity compounds faster than experience if you treat learning like a daily rep. Every day you got to wake up knowing that it's a gift and you get to do something, not I have to do something. Oh, it's I get to do this. I get to do that. I get to wake up and live my life, but nonetheless, I get to achieve my goals, such as hitting my quota, maybe being the best at AI within the moment, trying something that isn't really familiar to me, but keep going with that.
Yeah, just Billy, before we kind of move on from curiosity, where I think my team struggles, where I've seen other people struggle on the AI piece, is we've been going years and years and years and had a lot of success without AI. So we're used to going through our day, customer meetings, internal meetings, forecast calls, whatever it may be, planning the old way. And just, I see a lot of people struggle just getting this as part of, you mentioned reps. It's not in their daily reps. It's not a habit, right? So how have you seen, without naming names, maybe some people that have really caught on to this? Like, how do they incorporate this? How have you incorporated this into your day to day? Because people got to use it, right? But I'm seeing maybe 70% of the folks just aren't really gravitating towards it quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. During my time as a BDR, just trying to understand and learn, but also build a custom model for what I was doing, then trying to relay that to my team and then to a broader audience. At first was I would get to work 30 to 40 minutes before, and then I'd stay 30 minutes to 45 minutes after. And that was my time of just AI, just mess around, have fun, YouTube, or ask someone who's sitting next to me, hey, does this make sense? Like just peer review. I'd be going home, honestly, like 2 or 3 times a week. I just have a random thought about how we could make something efficient, such as, again, simple, um, preparing notes after a discovery call and trying to figure out the situation, the pain, the impact. All that combined into a 30-minute call can be sometimes hard to relay into a nice set of notes for the account executive or the manager. And so that was the first use case, but I didn't know how could we make that more efficient by literally making a one-click effort in an AI model. And so I called my buddy on the way home, and he's just my venting buddy. You got one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, does this make sense? Am I like just saying it to say it, or does this actually make sense? And we just talk it through in my 30-minute ride home. And the next day, that's 30 minutes before work, I'd think of the idea. I'd ask AI, how can I do this? I use it. I'd vibe code it out. And then the after hours, the after 5 p.m., after 6 p.m., I'd continue that process. And I did it for months and months and months. And then I built something that actually latched on to people, and not everyone liked it. Not everyone listened, right? But it kept me going to at least get to a higher level, then a higher level, and then seeing where it is now. It's pretty fascinating. Again, not just what I built, but then AI in general and where it's going to continue.
Dude, that's awesome. We talk often about how important it is to be in control of your career, to be driving that yourself. People want to help, people want to mentor, they want to do everything they can to support you. But at the end of the day, you got to control it. And you've done a phenomenal job of doing that so far. I mean, you're an ambitious dude. Continuous learning is part of your everyday. I mean, you can just sense it, which I think is outstanding. So, as we talk about leveraging different things you have to differentiate yourself, your own personal brand, clearly you're utilizing AI to do that. And so, as we talk about maybe building momentum, and we did a pre-call with you talking about momentum building activities that impact your career, your success with driving revenue, whatever that may be. Can you talk a little bit about where you really felt that momentum pick up? Was it one thing that kind of transcended your career to that next level, or what specifically was it?
Yeah, I actually remember the moment. It was like, bring it up again, one of my mentors, an SC manager at ServiceNow. Now I meet with him, probably once every month or quarterly when I go in. Now, but he really opened my mind of, wow, just run with this. Like, not everyone's going to listen. Not everyone's going to love it, but just run with it. And I didn't know what it meant. And even at the time, he's like, prompt engineering, right? And like, then
That's
I went
actually
to Google.
great advice. Yep.
He just run with it. Don't listen to other people. Just keep going, and everything will work out if you want it to. Some people trying to take the idea and make it better. Some people wanted to enhance it. Some people wanted to latch on and see what they can also build with me. Like and I love all that because it helps me learn. But he's like, just trust yourself, because he saw something in me and I still don't know what it is. But he just saw it and he's like, just be confident, put your head down, and again, do what you're doing. You're doing great. And he's just a positive guy. So I just love hanging out with positive people, even my buddies. I'm not, if they're negative, sorry, but I'm moving on. I'm going to the positive person.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause Billy, I saw the momentum myself, right? When I met Aidan and when I heard about him, and it was within a company. And this is for our listeners out there. You kind of know who the go-to people are, right? And I went to one of my, Tom Cullen is who I went to, another Boston guy. He's one of the best sellers at ServiceNow. I really believe that. And I went to him and I said, Tommy, what's going on with this AI? He's like, I go, I want to get my team like deeper into it. You gotta talk to Aidan, right? So that's why. So you talk about momentum. It went from Tommy to you to my team, and then it kind of, because of his curiosity, Billy, it just continued to spread and snowball, right? Which we talked about in kind of the pre-call piece. But as you kind of look at momentum now, right? Where's the momentum taking you next? Or
To continue.
what do you feel? What do you think that next step is?
Yeah. And I'll track back first. So I would knock on just doors, any leader's door, and just like, hey, you got 5 minutes. I'm the kid behind these emails. And I would send them all emails of links of demos.
That's great.
And again, not everyone loved it. Not everyone enjoyed it, but it was just like, I want to show face though. I'm not just an email. I'm not just a name. I want to see where it can go. And so these amazing people really latched on, trusted me. And so now where I am now, more along the higher visibility lens, I try and then latch on to those people who really believe and trust in me to not just be creative and curious, but to continue to learn and know where my faults are, but then where my strengths also are, to try and marry everything together. Again, I'm early in career still, right? I graduated 2 years ago. I don't know what I don't know, like I keep saying. And so I want to continue to be around those people who, one, are positive, and two, want the best for themselves, but others around them as a team. And that really gets me up and gets me going every morning.
You made a comment, progress. Would you say progress comes from doing things before you're asked to do them, the snowball effect? Will you just elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as networking. It's the same as knowing who you know and just being open, asking for help, asking for feedback. And that's a big part of what I've learned, actually, feedback. Again, I always tell people I love direct feedback. Even if you're like mean, mad at me, I don't care. Give me how it is. I'll get better as it comes. But it makes me have like more of a thicker skin throughout the day and know that I can take it when it's either good but also bad. Nothing's ever going to be good. You gotta come from the bad to get the good, right?
We always say feedback's a gift. You got to accept
Mhm.
it, but feedback is a gift, whether it's constructive or positive, reinforcing something. It's always a gift. If you have that attitude, you'll put it to work for yourself.
Right. And there's the quote I always live by. It's there's no such thing as losing, only lessons learned. Right? You're gonna get down, just get up.
Sure. Yeah. And Aidan, when you felt yourself kind of going through this momentum phase with AI, you typically you typically start with the problem statement. All right, what am I trying to solve? We have a tool here. We all have tools that we're working on that are AI centric. But ultimately, what was the question that you were trying to help the sellers answer, the sales leaders answer? Like, I've got an idea what it is, but did you start there and then we're using the tool to continue to train and train and train? What was the real business problem that you were trying to solve for yourself, the sellers, and the leaders?
Yeah, it's a great question, Scott. And it came from doing just marketing research. Again, that's where my major came in to help me, right? And I had to figure out after the first 3 months of building the GBT, the model that I made for sellers, It was great and all, but I wanted that feedback, and then good or bad. And so all the people who I'd sent the link to that they could, mess around with, I knew they were using it. There's probably 30 or 40 people in the office that had it and were using it daily. I then, after gave them, 2 or 3 more months of using it, asked them, hey, what are the biggest things in your day that take the most time? And then once you answer that question 2 is, you're using the, bot that I made, the GBT model. What is something that you're using it for that has saved you that time? And what is that time you think estimately is saving you? So I just took all literally the gravy, the goat's gravy, and I used it to my advantage and put it back into AI and like, hey, this is my, I put in a Word doc. These are all the quotes that I took from all these people using the AI model that I'm giving these quotes back to. How can I make it better? Give their feedback to the AI to then continue this, get that snowball effect and make it better and better based off
Yeah.
of what they did.
Because Billy, the way I translate that is the business problem that we're all trying to solve is how do we get closer to our customer? That's it for me. Right. And then there's a bunch of steps in between there that say, okay, pre-call planning. That's a sample of getting closer to your customer. What are the processes that these customers are going through? So I'm on the CX side of the house. What are the processes that they go through that are in a spreadsheet that they're making phone calls about? I mean, that's our whole value prop, right? How do we streamline workflows to make things easier for customers to do every day? Right. And that's what when I'm watching you kind of go through this momentum phase, that's what I keep thinking of is how do we get closer to the customer? And then how do we get salespeople more efficient to allow them to get closer to the customer? Right. And I think that might be interesting for our listeners out there. What problem are we trying to solve through this tool? And how can you run with it to make everyone, like, think about how you're making everyone, Aidan, so much closer to the customer. And I just didn't know if you had that sense when you started off this journey, or you might have rolled into that by happenstance.
I think it was just all happenstance and having the right people in my corner, understanding what that next step would be. Once I got the feedback and then implemented it, I'd then go back to them. Hey, as a customer, as the user of the product, or vice versa, they're kind of the same, the user or the customer in this stance, just getting their feedback and understanding what they want out of not just the day-to-day sales business, but then moving it into AI, prompt engineering. How can we make it make sense within a structure, trying to figure out the goal of what it is, but then the action, and then making it do the action. It's a whole process, right? And even making it a one clickable experience is hard enough, but that's what we're on and we're moving towards. So I don't even know what's next, but this agentic era is really fascinating.
No doubt. No doubt. We talked about, being curious can kind of be scary sometimes, right? It's not easy. Getting yourself uncomfortable is not easy. What's the first time where you went through this process where you're like, you were pretty scared, but you were able to bust through it and you got to the other side, kind of giving you more and more confidence? Do you remember that first time where you're like a little freaked out?
Yeah, it was any demo in the first like 30 of them, going into the one-on-ones with higher level management, but then afterwards going to their team once I got the head nod and the approval. It was just going in to their weekly 30 minutes to an hour session talking about everything that they do, but then I'm barging in. I mean, like, that's what I thought, taking their time out of their day to do something that I believed in, but they don't understand at all. So it was hard to latch on to people. And there'd always be like, let's say a group of 15, 2 or 3 people would message you after saying, hey, let's get some time. That was pretty cool. But that's a win, because then their feedback means more than the people who may not take advantage of it. And in this era that AI, is scary, it's more so the opportunity, and you have to realize it's not going anywhere, right? This is the day in life we're in. And it could be scary because of all the crazy things in the world happening, but it's more, how can I make my life better? How can I make my job better? How can I wake up and use AI to the max, where I have maybe even free time to go on a walk and call some of my buddies, right? It's the time you get back is the fun part, honestly.
Yeah.
That's great. So, hey, one thing I've picked up from this is there's a lot of bi-directional mentorship taking place here, right? So you were someone that embraced early on feedback, reaching out to people, you've got courage. There's no doubt. You reach out to leaders, you want 5 minutes with people, you're putting yourself out there. You've got advice to do that, run with something, even if there's going to be non-believers, and you did it. You've done that. So walk us through maybe who are your top mentors, or if there's one mentor right now and some critical lessons you've learned from them, what are those? And then how are you, obviously you're giving it back right now to the sales force, but what other ways are you mentoring others? And is it specific to AI or just general sales, commercial development, and AI?
Yeah, that was great question. The one guy who I keep mentioning, the SC manager, his name's Sean O'Connell at ServiceNow. Big shout out. He is just the man. Um, he's the one who will tell you to keep going, put your head down, don't listen to others that may, beat you up. Just keep going, be confident. And that was the one thing. He's like, you got something, but keep running with it. And that's not just within AI, that's just in life in general. Like with everything, right? It's just to be confident and know that you may not always be right, but you may not always be wrong. And that's the mindset you have to kind of switch yourself into.
But
Again,
believing in yourself is what I hear you saying. It's huge, right? You just got to have that belief in yourself, that
absolutely.
conviction.
Absolutely. And I have a notebook literally to the left of me every morning and every night. I write down just 3 or 4 goals, and it could be literally the same exact one every single night until I get that done in a certain period of time is when I feel accomplished. And it could be as simple as, hey, just go outside, get a few steps in, listen to some music, or, early in career, make sure you hit that quota end of the month. If not, like then I have to do something to get it the next month. Like I have to learn from that experience of why, what happened. And that's just everything from life to business to sales to AI. It's just the persistence of writing things down, owning it, and setting your goals to actually be achievable, but also far enough away where it's a little scary still.
Yeah. The thing I liked about what you said earlier was, having the courage to practice. Having, you come out of college, you might be self-conscious, you might be too cool for school. You come out of a very unique environment, whether it's Providence or Alabama, where my son is. And I'm working with Caden, and you've met my son Caden, and I'm trying to help him with the same kind of concept of it's okay to mess up. Because in our prep, you had mentioned something along the lines of, the practice concept continues to come up. How do you force yourself to continue to practice? Like, you called a buddy and you said, hey, am I crazy? Kind of sit down on the couch and analyze this. But how do our listeners kind of get over the fact that they got to know everything and be vulnerable, right? When they have to practice something that they're not sure of. So you're going into that meeting with, a team like mine, and you've got to nail it. Like what's your advice on practice in general, and how do you put practice in practice?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say you have to sometimes do things you don't like to do, but do it like you love them. And like at the beginning, I now say I love doing demos, but in the beginning I was terrified, right? I didn't know how to tell a story with data or numbers or even just AI in general, explaining it in the most simplified way possible. Especially I go downstairs when I was living at home last year to my mom, and I was like, does this make sense? Where are my ums? Where are my ahs? Like, give me like the bare basic of basics. But it really helped me. And then at night, I would always have a certain podcast or people I listen to, even crazy enough on Instagram or TikTok, just random motivational things that are just always popping up. Because again, we get in this weird realm of in work with your buddies outside of work, but like, what are you doing within social media? What's popping up? What are you feeding yourself? And I have a lot of that daily, just to make sure that I'm always conscious, always writing down my goals, always stepping forward. Um, and then in the AI world as well, trying to read every single thing that's out there, waking up every morning. I have I made a certain GBT model where I just press one button, it gives me the news of the AI things that happened that day. Then I give it on end of the week, right? So I'm always there. I always know what's going on. But then I try and learn as well to implement that within my role. And then other individuals who reach out in college, high school, whoever my buddies are within my circle.
Love it.
That's awesome. So listen, in our last 5 minutes or so, we would love to do this this little I don't know if I'd call it a game. It's called a speed round, AI and sales. And you're either going to agree or disagree with the statement, and I'll do it for both of you, and then we'll unpack a couple of these
Sure.
just to see, and then we'll wrap up with kind of your departing advice and with three kind of final questions. So first statement is AI will eliminate more average sales reps than bad economies ever did. Do you agree or disagree, Scott?
I was hoping Aidan would answer that first, but I'm going to go for it. I think the key word that in the question that you asked is average, right? I think, and I think this kind of goes to something we were prepping for. AI won't replace people, but people who AI will replace people who don't. Like, meaning that if you don't grasp it, you will be replaced, and you might be out of the company completely. So I think the advice, so I agree that it will replace below average people. I don't know, Aidan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd agree, but not fully in. It's more so those who, again, latch onto it and want to learn and grow with what's happening in the industry will continue to see success. Those who kind of steer away from it may still be in their own ways and do well, but maybe are missing out on that one or two things that can give time back and help them kind of get that deal quicker.
Yep.
All right, next one. Most sales teams are using AI to do more activity, not better selling. Agree or disagree? Aidan can go first.
I would disagree because it depends on where they're using the AI. Right? If they're using it for their benefit to save them time, to save them energy, to save them money in certain use cases, sure. But if you're just building things to build things with no direction or goal, then that's a waste of time.
Yeah, and I think
answer?
I think the answer is, if you really are in the field and you're a field seller and you're leveraging AI to prep, you're leveraging AI to continue to get you closer to the customer. I keep going to that end goal, Aidan, where we've got to get closer to the customer, right? And that'll eventually be an impact on sales. Um, I would agree that it is helping us with activity, but more importantly, it's helping us get closer to the customer.
All right, last one. Most reps rely on ChatGPT or AI type tools more than official company AI tools. Agree or disagree?
That's an interesting one. I don't know if we'll get too specific here, but
You guys can't.
yeah, I think it's a good question, because the question that's asking is about adoption, right? And I'm sure we're seeing a curve here, Aidan. At least I can just speak to my team at a high level. I think the adoption is, we've got our top performers that are adopting it quicker. No surprise. They're the most curious. They're the most motivated. They're the most, they see the curve. Like, we are selling AI at ServiceNow. That is in all of our solutions. There's an AI solution. So, I think ChatGPT or tools like that are still prevalent with kind of the lower 50% of people that aren't as curious as we'd like them to be. That's how I'd probably answer that.
Yeah, I would agree. I would first say that you gotta color outside the lines a little bit to understand what you personally enjoy using whichever AI tool for yourself. Again, it could be AI, it could be ChatGPT, it could be Claude, it could be Gemini. There's a bunch out there, right? But within the governance of your own, business, industry, whatever it is, you kind of got to follow the right rules. But yes, for certain activities and certain things are AI that are better at what they do. So it's all depending on where the situation is at hand.
So, Aidan, I appreciate the time. Any parting advice for our listeners out there? Future goats, if you will, or even old hags like Billy and I. But what kind of comes to mind as a parting message?
Yeah, I would say the one thing that changed just my mindset to the drive, nonetheless AI, and just to be curious is one book. It's called The Secret, and it's just about just law of attraction and in your mindset, and to continue to be positive and write things down, believe in them, and then they come true. And I feel like that's just how reality really is. If you focus on it and you really believe in it and you really try to your hardest within networking, believing in other people to believe in you, and kind of to give yourself grace when things aren't going your way, to take a step back and breathe and understand that, hey, not every day is going to be sunshine and rainbows, but you're going to wake up and you're going to keep going. And so that book is great. When I have a bad day, I just read like one chapter to mentally take a step back and understand, not every day is going to be great, but we got to keep moving forward.
Love it, man. I'm going to read it.
I have two. Yeah, I haven't read that, so I'm going to read that as well. And two parting questions. So leave us with this: one habit that you think creates top performance when done day in and day out. And then the final one will be, if you were sending a text message back to yourself on your very first day ever, in your first sales job, what would you say to yourself for advice?
So the one habit, I'll answer that one first, would be to write things down. Not just what you're doing within your business or sales or whatever your career you're in, but just your personal goals outside of work, everything. It all relates to itself. It'll make you happier when you wake up in the morning if you get things done. The text message part of it would just say to keep moving forward. And that's simple. It's kind of cliche. Again, I'm early in career still, but it's just know what you don't know and really open arms to it. Let it in. Try and understand what you don't know. So then one day when I'm older and I can do more fascinating, fun things with my life, I'm happy that the things that I really stepped out of my comfort zone to continue to grow and learn and just be, ready for feedback.
I love it. Hey, Billy, you and I are kind of curious characters. So I think we've said this is the last question 4 or 5 minutes, but I got one last question. Because I really enjoy your perspective, Aidan. Besides the goat's gravy, is there, because you mentioned podcasts where you leverage AI to kind of set your day up. How do you do that? Number one. And then number two is, what's a podcast that our listeners can go that you found value in at your age? What gets you excited?
That's a funny question. I don't have like one particular podcast in general. Again, I love just the social media aspect, and I just say a doom scrolling is what they call it, I guess. But but it's more so just finding what you like on the internet and just latching to it. Again, motivational, sales, cold calling help, everything. Like I take a follow to those. But the last, I guess, piece of advice was just to be honest with yourself and to continue to grow and be curious. Don't just put a foot in the water, really just jump in, be around the right people. And that's the big part of it. Just being around the right people to motivate you, uplift you. And then just to be curious with AI to understand where it's at in the industry, to keep growing with it, right? It was hardware, now it's software, now it's AI. And so what's next? I have no idea. But let's keep going.
If you and I knew, we would retire in about a year.
I think you're on it, though. I think you're carving out a really special niche for yourself. Very impressive. Clearly, one of the best rising stars we've talked with. So just hopefully we'll talk to you again here in the future. But man, good luck to you, and thank you so much. Just really impressive. Scotty, another one we may try to pull from you.
Yeah, these are unhireable folks, William. But Aidan, thanks a ton. I really appreciate your time. Very enlightening, and really, really, I think our listeners are going to love it. Thank you so much.
Billy, Scott, really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
All right.
You got it, brother.
Thanks,
Take
man.
care.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of The Goat's Gravy. We've shared some awesome insights and strategies aimed at enhancing your journey in sales. And the conversation does not have to stop here. So be sure to follow us on social media at The Goat's Gravy and explore more at thegoatsgravy.com. Your journey towards sales mastery is ongoing, and we're here to support you at every step. So thank you for tuning in today. Stay curious, stay driven, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.